Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the fourth Syria TESOL Online International Conference. Our guest for tonight is very, very special. We're going to have a very beautiful and informative time with our dearest Yusra, speaking to us from Tunisia. Yusra, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Safwan. Thanks for the invitation. And I'm really very glad to meet my friends all over the world, and especially my friends in Syria this time. So thank you so much.
Great. And we in turn say hi and big hello to our friends from Tunisia. I believe some people are attending from there. Thank you very much for being with us. And thanks to everyone attending this presentation. If I can have just 1 minute to introduce Yusra. Yusra is a linguistics PhD candidate with a master's in English specialization in cross-cultural studies and CELTA certification. She's also a TESOL trainer and certified coach. Yusra is accredited as an auditor for quality in educational programs and training institutions from the LSCO. She has been active in the field of ELT since 2009. Beautiful. And she currently teaches at Tunisian University and served as TEFL Kuwait's media and PR manager from 2022 until 2023. Yusra is an active member of several teacher associations such as TESOL International and Nile TESOL and many others. Yusra is also the founder of the Ikigai and KaiZen podcasts. And of course, I had the honor to be Yusra's guest one day. And she has chaired Kuwait's also partnerships for sustainable education, SIG, in 2023 until recently. What a beautiful biography, Yusra.
Thank you so much, Safwan. And actually, the bio holds in itself more of a human experience than just lines. I've spent a lot of time, choosing the right opportunities, and I was lucky enough to have nice people, and I was surrounded by really supportive people who were there along the journey, and still. So thank you so much, Safwan, and great pleasure really talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Now, I wish you all the very best of luck on your presentation, and we're all looking forward to learning more and more from you. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. So first, let me know if you see my screen, everyone. And there we go. So I've chosen this topic really because I'm someone who's interested in improving myself on a daily basis. I see myself as a work in progress, which means it doesn't mean that I have achieved something in life that I really celebrate and forget about the next step. I'm a goal-oriented person, so whenever I achieve, let's say, a milestone, I just look for what's the next thing. And I've noticed also that a lot of colleagues, they have the same mindset. So that's why today I really have chosen to talk about mindsets. And not necessarily mindset in the usual way everybody knows it. So you will discover with me today a new way of perceiving one's mindset, and not generally speaking, but most specifically in one's career path development. And we'll see together why did I choose the two words Ikigai and KaiZen. So let's start. So first, I will start by introducing what is the term CPD. So everybody talks about CPD. So everybody, all of us, we're just very cautious and really, we want to improve ourselves. But let's first start to know what is it exactly, and really undust, let's say, some misunderstandings about it, and see how CPD has evolved over time. And then we'll see together what right mindset should we have for the right CPD. And then, of course, since I've chosen to talk about Ikigai, so I'll explain what is Ikigai and then what's KaiZen. And next, I will showcase a few examples from my colleagues in the TESOL field and how their narrative really served as an inspiration to others, and of course through my podcasts. And finally, I will share with you some few things that I know I'm not going to say tips, but things that I know about how to leverage one's career path through AI. And finally, we'll see together what kind of takeaways you can take with you from this presentation. So first, I'm going to start with a guided meditation. And please, if you allow me to take you into this journey, feel free to do it with me. If you don't want to do it, please just follow with us. You can close your eyes, or you can just simply, listen to me in the meantime. So there will be a video which is in the background, but please try to follow up with my voice. So let's start. So please, if you're wearing anything, like a watch or rings, feel free to take them away. And then try to sit down and close your eyes. And then let's start by taking a deep breath in up to 4. So you're going to count with me to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You inhale. And then you exhale to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to go back to today. Let's say the very first moment you opened your eyes today in the morning. What was the first thing you had in your mind once you woke up? I want you to keep in mind that goal, and then try to remember the walkthrough that you took to your office. If you work, of course, in an office. If you work at home, try to think about, how was your day really? Was it productive? How did you start your day actually? And then I'm going to take you with me in a journey now towards your life. Let's imagine together now that you are in another dimension. In the sense, you allow yourself to dream. You can be in a different place from what you are now, talking to different people from the people surrounding you. And then try to think about, what kind of life would it be? Your perfect life, your dream life. If you would be working a job different from the job that you're doing now, the task that you did today, what would it be? What kind of job would it be? Would it be the same or different? If you had to choose the job that you're pursuing, would you be choosing the same profession? Yes or no? And then try to think of that goal. Is it something that you can achieve within the next few years? Let's say the next 2, 3 years, 5 years maybe? If it's an attainable goal, is there something that you should do and you're not taking that step, let's say, towards doing that? Is there something that preventing you from living the perfect life that you desire? Be it a fear from the future, be it a fear from failure. Think about that goal, keep it in mind, and then I want you to open your eyes, and we're going to see together in today's presentation. You'll be reflecting on this goal, and feel free, please, to have a piece of paper or a notebook next to you, because you're going to answer your own questions meanwhile. So I hope you enjoyed the meditation with me. And these are the reflection questions that I want you, if you want, you can take notes of these questions. And they're as follows. So we're talking about goal setting. And I've asked you a question: what is your utmost goal? And from the beginning, I've started to tell you that I'm a goal-oriented person. And that made me really work on improving myself on a daily basis. And the technique that I showed you minutes ago, it's something I use on a daily basis to ask myself, to reflect on my goal. Because let's say a dream without a plan is just a dream. The goal can really remain a dream without a real plan. So And also I reflect on the challenges along the way because, life is not perfect. It's not really like we don't have like a magic stick, I decide to be such and such person and then you can achieve it really easily. So those challenges, they're meant for a reason. And without those challenges, you were not the same person you are today. And also, I want you to think about those challenges that are preventing you from achieving your goal. Are they intrinsic, let's say, because of your belief system, or are they extrinsic, let's say, from family, work, or the context, the environment that you live in? Is it because of lack of resources? So feel free to answer these questions. And also feel free to type the answer in the chat if you want. So now, since I talked about your dream job, and I talked about, the title of my presentation is about CPD, Continuous Professional Development. So before the definition, I'm really curious to know in the chat, please, if you want, can you type your own definition of CPD? So it's really something that we've taken it for granted, but I really want to know, what does CPD represent for you? So please feel free to type your answers in the chat. Yes, Adam says it's forever learner. Yes, Safwan said it's TESOL essential. For me, it's the oxygen, that I can't live without. And I'm sure that everyone, you share the same point of view. So let's say CPD, according to the core definition of CPD and to the CPD Standards Office, it's the continuing, some people call it continuous professional development, others they call it continuing professional development. It's the intentional maintenance and development of knowledge. It's like you set the intention for it. Just like the intention you set for it early in the morning. And if you remember the exercise, the meditation one, what was the first intention you had in the mind this morning? So in not only the intention, because setting the intention without putting the effort will just be something, hypothetical. It's like putting the effort in order to achieve results. Types of CPD activities, as we all know, some of them they're instructor-led, like courses. Others they're workshops or seminars, like the one we're attending tonight. And others they're really like readings and something, let's say semi-formal, like mentoring. So most of all, through the research that I did until now, I noticed that most of the CPD which is being really held nowadays is student-oriented, which means we're trying to improve teachers as much as we can with all the certificates and the degrees they can acquire so that the learners can receive the best learning experience ever. For example, teachers, they just have their degrees, they maintain, regular training so that they provide students with a learner-friendly lesson. It's like the focus, all of it is on the learner. But we've noticed, all of us, like since the COVID-19, everybody, teachers really, they had conveyed their stories about what is happening for them, from burnout, from lack of healthcare. So a lot of issues really were raised with the COVID and time. A lot of organizations, they tried really to understand and to frame CPD, okay? Along the way, it's like this framework that we're going to see now. I'm not going to really go into details into this framework because we'll see that frameworks, they're just there to help us understand things, but not necessarily dealing with the human psyche. Next, so the first point was CPD, student-oriented, now the CPD, teacher-oriented. So myself included, I prefer this one because you can't pour from an empty cup. If yourself as a teacher, you're not really well at ease, you're not safe. You know the Maslow pyramid that we all know? If you're not really embodying, let's say, that harmony in yourself, you can't convey anything to your students. They will feel it. They will feel that the teacher's tired, the teacher's not feeling well. So the happier you are, the happier students will be. So, and since I talked about CPD, also CPD, some people use it for career path development. And I'm going to juxtapose both of them later on and explain how they're very intertwined. So just like the road, just like a path, the CPD starts with different milestones. We talked about milestones, right? So the first step, as we all know, before graduation, you discover yourself, you just explore what kind of career you can have. And just like the exclamation mark, you're bewildered. You don't know, you're confused. So I have a degree, but what can I do with that degree? And in some cases, some institutions, they don't provide that support so that students, they know very well what they're going to do with that degree. So most of the cases, people, they really seek help in that particular stance. And most of all in other stages, we'll see. So the novice stage, so let's say the starting point. So, and I really believe that not all of us were lucky enough to have that piece of advice that we all needed once we were novice. But the question here, I'm not going to kind of go into details into the different paths and milestones, but I'm really interested in knowing the audience's, milestones. Where are you exactly in this pathway, let's say? So I'd like to know if most of you are novice, mid-career, senior, semi-retired, or maybe retired. So please, can you type in the chat, where exactly do you see yourself in this pathway for CPD, for career path? So let's see, mid-career. Self-discovery, same as me. It's like I'm always discovering myself on a daily basis. So great, thank you so much for typing your answers in the chat. So this track, actually, just a second, please. So this chat really is reflected through different ways. So we talked about CPD, right, as a term, as continuous professional development. And now I'm going to link both CPD as continuous professional development and CPD as career path development. So most of us talked about improving one's skills. So we have 3 different categories, as you see here on the screen. The first one is training. So sometimes training is imposed by the institution. It's like, it's not really your choice as a person. You didn't choose really to take that particular degree or certificate because it really part of the requirement for that institution. And this style, we call it the formal CPD. And most of the cases, if people, they just take the degree and accumulate sometimes the certificates of attendance, they don't necessarily really use it and put it in use. So I'm not generalizing, but sometimes it's the case. The second phase, which is mentoring. And mentoring in here, as you can see here, on the stairs, there's someone really who is ahead of the other person, and he's taken, the other person with the hand, so that he or she guides the person towards another destination. So mentoring, as defined, is, let's say, an exchange of skills, but it's mentor-driven. It's not mentee-driven. Most of the cases that we're going to see in some other cases, like the one that I had the chance to be in, I took part of a mentoring program in which I was, my goals really was driven by me, not by the mentor. So, and the next phase, the next points is coaching. And if comparing the 2 other ones to coaching, I'm talking about coaching, of course, because coaching is really interesting nowadays. And I will define it for you, and because there are a lot of misconceptions to coaching. And as compared to mentoring, as you can see, even from the photo, so it's coachee driven. It's like more of let's say the person whose coach is discovering himself more about than the coach himself or herself. So which one do you prefer? 1, 2, or 3? Let's see. Oh, Mr. Musa says 6 years from retirement. Good, good, good. Nice to have you. Hello, Miss Allison. How are you? So which one do you prefer? Do you prefer training, or are you more into training? Are you more into mentoring or coaching? Or if not, which one
Hi,
like?
dear. Hi, dear. It's nice, so nice to be here. And
Thank you so much.
I had to
Hello.
unmute myself. Well, I really enjoy all the levels of training, mentoring, and coaching. Um, I love them
Sorry,
all.
I'm trying to get back to
Possible
the
to do all.
slides. Thank you so much. Actually, same. It's like without training, I without knowing one, I couldn't really know the difference between the others, and still I have to, jump sometimes from one step to the other, and all of them they're really necessary. But today, I'm going to focus more on coaching, and we'll see together in what sense
Good.
it's really transformation, just like a butterfly. So today is like a journey together, and we're seeing together how the CPD can be really a transformational journey, just like a butterfly. And thank you so
Wonderful.
much, Miss Allison. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
being here.
We're all ears and all eyes for your
Thank you so much.
enlightenment.
Thank you so much. And I know that Miss Allison, you know, now you're in Turkey, right? So
Yes, that's correct. I'm in Istanbul.
hello, and so glad to see you. Thank you so much. So we talked about CPD and CPD. And both, acronyms, I try to juxtapose them together, CPD and CPD. And as we've seen together, so CPD at different levels, there's no one size fits all model, as we've seen. Through the track, all through the pathway, it's different from one person to the other. Just like we are different as human beings, our pathways are really different. And we adapt ourselves to the situations and to whatever we have as resources, of course. So, and just like the metaphor of the butterfly that I talked a lot about this, and I know that Miss Elsie, you like the metaphor of the butterfly a lot. And so just like from the cocooning stage until you see yourself, blossoming and really fulfilling the life that you desire. So, and as you can notice, I've used the both terms, Ikigai and KaiZen, that I'm going to explain later on. What are they? So these are some of the terms that go along the journey. I'd like really to know what other things once you went through your career path, if you can summarize the whole pathway until now in one word, can you please type into the chat box? Thank you. So some words that I recall for me is success, plan, dream, values, trust, change, and hope. Friendship, I forgot about this. So let's see some of the words that are really here in the chat. Journey, love, bumpy, yes, achievement, challenge from Ayman, journey for Saf. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for typing, really sharing your experience with us. It's really beautiful and valuable to us. So next, now, since I talked about coaching, so a lot of people, they tend to confuse coaching for mentoring, actually, and myself included. Before taking my coaching training, I thought that coaching was really using the right tools, and the coaching session is just meeting someone who knows more than I know, and that person really is going to give me what shall I do. But once I discovered the coaching according to the ICF standards, and now I'm not promoting any organization, but I'm just talking about myself and my experience, even though it's very valuable in terms of, the training and, the value of let's say the outcomes. But coaching here, it's a process. It's a creative process, just like the butterfly process. And it's more about myself, let's say, as a coach meeting a coachee and just, talking to the person. It's not like a chit chat or gossip session or like we talk together. No, the coaching session is more about discovering the coachee. And the coach's mission, let's say, is to ask the person as many questions as you can ask so that the person reflects on himself or herself, on the vision, goal, desires to be achieved. So it's more about the person discovering himself more than the coach himself. So, and I'm going to ask you a question now. The whole session is like, you know, a mirror to a coaching session. So similar to the ones that I conduct. My next question for you is like, when was the last time you learned a new skill, a concept, or a language? So please type it in the chat and feel free to talk about this skill or concept or language. And if you want to continue the sentence, how did you learn it? Did you learn it through a course? From someone speaking about this? From a training? Was it someone who inspires you or from an organization? Two weeks ago from Hiba? Yesterday? And can you type please what was even the skill that you learned it? Italian, good for Nidal. I studied Italian, you know, for 3 years. I can't remember a single word. So lucky you. All right. Okay. So I'm going to share with you, you know, my, let's say, life journey in a nutshell. Just a second, please. So I'm going to share with you how I learned the skill. And can you guess from the photos what kind of skill is it? Maybe multiple ones. It's not one skill. So let's try to guess. So first, it's the Hindi language, so that not to confuse it with another language. So, and I've learned it together with another skill. So all right. So can you guess? Can you guess? Yoga. Great. Okay, very good. So I learned yoga, and actually I was really persevering. I used to wake up every day, you know, for 3 years, 4 a.m. to go and meditate from 5, sometimes 5:30 a.m. and go to work afterwards. It was really a self-discovering journey. I learned through the Embassy of India and Tunisia, of course, I learned the Hindi language because I wanted to understand what my coach was saying, even though the coach was speaking English. But I wanted to get closer to the culture, let's say. And as you can see, for every achievement, there's a milestone, which is a certificate. And I'm really so glad about this. But if you ask me, for example, what can you remember from the Hindi language? I can remember maybe one sentence, which is Mera naam Yusra hai, which is my name is Yusra. So that's all I can remember from my courses. I hope my teacher's not watching me now. So let's say the second point that I wanted to share with you is I learned another skill, and more of that. After learning the skill, I started sharing it with colleagues. So I used to attend a lot of workshops at the US Embassy in Tunisia until I delivered my own workshop with the American Corner in Tunis. And I used to attend a lot of, as you can see, a lot of badges. They're not all of them, so I couldn't really paste all of them. So I'm really very grateful to the American English for Educators for holding a regular series of webinars on a regular basis. And I took a lot of those badges, and I learned a lot of tips that I really integrated into my lessons. And then another milestone that I'm sharing with you, and please feel free to tell me if you went through the same or different, let's say, pathway. So this was another training that I took with the Alexo, and it's for quality education. And through this, I learned how to have a critical eye on every program and how to really apply this to my context. So plenty of those. I'm just going to skip because every degree, every certificate tells a story, but I just wanted to share this and tell that it's not about the degree in itself, only for the degree. It's more about the lessons learned. It's more about the skills that I learned from those degrees. among that is the ICF also coaching accreditation as well, and it's I'm very grateful to the experience. My CELTA as well, and inshallah the Delta upcoming. So I even took a course with Harvard, you know, and there are plenty of those courses available for free, or even with a scholarship you can acquire verified achievement from Harvard. And what else? So this is for journalism. For a lot of my friends who've been asking me, what did I do and why am I doing the podcast? And I'm really very passionate about journalism. I did it in Arabic and in English. I did it even with Al Jazeera and plenty of things. I'm just going to skip this. No, but TESOL Arabia as well. This is my certificate for last year's participation. So, and also my participation with Tunisia TESOL, where I started my CPD journey in my country, Tunisia. So all of this to talk about something really very interesting. This is for the TESOL International as well, where I learned what is leadership and how to be a good leader. And I've been really mentored all through the way. So that is to talk about something really interesting, which is very useful to my CPD. And really, I really assume that it's the same for everybody. It's organizational learning. It's the learning that I have received myself, and a lot of my colleagues are now receiving in organizations such as the TESOL International Organization, such as the IATEFL, and along with many others. So here I'm just citing, but not limiting this to the organizations that you see on the screen. So I've been part of these PLNs, professional learning networks, and I've grown in these organizations that I'm very, very grateful to. So to understand a little bit now, since we talked about CPD and the importance of organizational learning, there are a variety of terms to be used here, and people, they talk about the term. Sometimes they use it as, to convey meaning, which might be different sometimes. So organizational learning, it's all about talent acquisition, development, improvement, and reinforcement. For example, so sometimes you are multi-potentialite, you have a lot of skills, but you can't perceive them and see them yourself. But through these mentoring programs and coaching programs, so let's say people who are at an advanced level more than you are, really they know and they see that potential in you, just like Miss Allison saw it in me. And I'm talking about the arts and creativity PLN. And a simple discussion with someone who is an expert in the field can really lead the person to, wider horizons, just like the horizons that I'm now really dreaming of. So to sum up, for every talent, it's good that you have talents, but if you don't know how to put it in use, what's the purpose of that? So, recognizing the talent is really important, but working more on improving it is really of a higher importance. So, and since we talked about tools, philosophy, and infrastructure can be for sometimes the communities of practice, like for TESOL international organizations, it's the communities of practice, we call them COPs, or for IATEFL, we have what we call the SIGs, the special interest groups. Yes, Miss Allison. I can see that you're raising your hand. Do you want to chime in with a comment?
Yes, I do. I want to chime in. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt,
No,
but I
okay.
just have to say I would love to support you by saying that you have so many talents, and we just all we need to do is look at your signature panel. Your signature panel is just like blows us away. You have so many talents, but I think your best talent is sharing it with others and inspiring others. And I know that you've inspired me in many ways. And you might think it was the opposite, but there you are inspiring me to develop more, to think of ways that I can leverage my talents. And let me tell you, you are an inspiration, Yusra, to everyone. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alison. And so are you. I love you so much. And by the way, voila,
it's love,
it's pure love. It's like ever since I knew you, you're just someone who's been really there for for anything, you know, for guidance, for support. And I hope that I can be the same for you at any particular level in your life, like forever. Thank you, Alison. Thanks for being who you are.
Me too. Hoping for the best and looking forward.
Thank you so much. So much love. Thank you.
So much love.
Wow. So this is CPD. This is, you know, this is what remains, you know, the human aspect. It's all that remains, you know, because, you know, degrees and certificates and everything is it's just a piece of paper. All that you learn and all what remains actually is like the human presence. And I'm really grateful, forever grateful to any person who's been part of my path. And I hope that I can be really a positive person to anyone who meets me or let's say who crosses my path at any particular moment. So since we talked about organizations, so I'm not going to talk more about details. I'm just going to skip a few slides if you want, but feel free, please, if you want to stop me, if you want some clarification related to some aspects in the slides. So for example, if we're talking about learning organizations, so first, we cannot talk about something without talking about having the right mindset. So I'm just going to blend this slide with the next ones. So instead of just going into details. So since we talked about culture, organization, and organizational learning, most importantly, it's all about cultivating the learning culture, let's say the culture which encourages you to be yourself, more of yourself, and to experiment. And do not be afraid of experimenting, failing, experimenting, you know, and, you know, falling and standing up again, and until you get it right, most of all. And collaboration, of course, that's how you learn, because, you know, happiness is the same, is the only feeling which gets exponential only when shared. So once you're happy, everybody surrounding you will be happier. So, and of course, imagine this happening in professional context. Sharing, you know, with a pure heart. So I know something and my colleague knows another thing. It's all about exchanging that knowledge and learning together, all in good vibes. So, and I'm going to talk about another person who had really an impact on my life and within the community of practice that I was really a member in, which is Amira Salama. She was my mentor for the Climb program. And Amira, she's really a humane TESOL leader as well. And I had the pleasure of being mentored by Amira within the TESOL, the CPD PLN, which is the career path development path. So here, and together with Dr. Elizabeth England and with Amira, you know, I had to work myself on my goals. So I had to meet with Amira, you know, few times, you know, by Zoom, and then she was following up with me. So she was asking me every time, Yusra, what are the goals that you want to achieve? And then every time I go back to questions, to ask her questions, and Amira replies to the questions, and until I had fulfilled the goals that I set from the beginning. And I also wanted to talk about the Arts and Creativity PLN. And Miss Alison Larkin Kushki was and still is the leader in this PLN. And in that moment, why I still remember, I just typed something, you know, in the discussion, and it was a beginning of a friendship, you know, which is really a lifetime experience until now. So in that PLN, the art of podcasting, you know, blossomed there. And Miss Allison encouraged me to start my first webinar in the Arts and Creativity PLN. And I'm very grateful to the experience for both PLNs. So now I'm talking about the TESOL career paths, going back to career paths. And yes, Miss Allison.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to embellish and enhance. Yeah, I remember when you shared your podcast with us in the Arts and Creativity PLN, and this is a TESOL, a professional learning network based on arts and creativity, and we were just over the moon that we had some like expertise on podcasting, and it is so significant. And people are still learning how to podcast, and it started with you a couple of years ago. And the arts and creativity is still going. We focus on learning the language through film, drama, um, poetry, puppetry, having
Yes.
like puppets, and through even visual arts. And it was such an amazing boost to have you join us and talk about podcasting. So just appreciating you from that angle.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much. That was really
You're welcome.
encouraging.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I think and I really believe these opportunities are meant for exchange. So I can see someone else really raising their hand if it's something related to the same point. Yes, I'd be very glad to answer the question. If it's something really that can wait until the end, we'll be very glad to answer the question later on. So Mr. Safa, how much time do I still have?
I just wanted to reflect on what President Allison has just mentioned. I
Yes.
remember I met her first while doing TEFL Kuwait, and I was really surprised how she was supported unconditionally. I mean, that was the first time, and I was really intrigued by her humanity and her support. So the reason why she knows exactly what she's talking about, because she's truly applying what she's preaching after all. So thank you, President Allison, for this.
She's a sweetheart, and I really admire how she leads from the heart. Leadership has different styles, and everybody has his own or her own way of leading others. Not necessarily, we use the word leadership, but it's like being there, the presence. We call it leadership, but it can have, different names. But Ms. Allison is really someone who's there, physically, mentally. She is there for everybody. And I hope that I can do the same for her whenever she needs that. So thank you so much. So I'm talking also, yes, Ms. Allison, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Safwan and dear Miss Yusra. For me, so at my advanced age, I have a lot of experience in the field, and I've lived all over the world. I'm originally from Boston, but I've learned to love humanity. It's all about love, and what you do is you love the individuals who are giving their best, who are trying to communicate, who are trying to help empower others. So I'm at an advanced age, my darlings. So I can tell you from this perspective, it boils down to all of our communication skills that we're sharing with our colleagues and our students. It boils down to love of humanity.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, giving the perspective of
Oh my God.
experience here. Thank you, dears. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay. So much love, Alison. So going back to talk about CPD, and I really recommend Dr. Elizabeth England as well, who is really someone that I'm grateful for as well in my journey. So the book is really a must read to whoever really did not read it yet. It's about TESOL career path, not only for native speakers, but the non-native English speaking, the word itself is really important, because as you've noticed, I don't know if some of you, my colleagues, you've really witnessed this. Sometimes when you apply for a job abroad, it's like the first thing they ask you, are you a native speaker? Most of the cases, it's not. So, someone with all the degrees that you have and the effort that you put in, you are always considered, let's say, a second-class citizen, simply because you were not born in an English-speaking country. But no, I've learned through the TESOL International Organization that everybody and all, we are the same. Since you have the skills, you have the potential, you have the consistency, you have the reliability, you have the proficiency. You're someone who's qualified to be a leader. You're someone who is qualified to be, you just share what you know. And Dr. Liz's book is really something to be read and interesting for all teachers at all levels, from novice teachers to senior teachers, let's say. And I'm also grateful to her at PLN, so in which I really already mentioned that I've learned a lot, and I'm still part of the PLN, and I'm still learning a lot. So very grateful to the experience and to the whole team. So now we're talking about mindset, and the topic of my presentation is about shifting mindset. First, let's try to identify the difference between a mentality and a mindset. As you can see, so for both of them, they're juxtaposed. So the mindset, as it's defined in a dictionary, it means a set of attitudes of a fixed set of beliefs. They're there, they don't change. Whereas a mentality is the particular attitude or way of thinking. So the mindset is more of something static, as defined in a dictionary. Okay, we're going to see to what extent we can shift from that definition towards a much more dynamic definition, which is the following: fixed mindset and a growth mindset. How many times did you tell yourself, I can't do it? I don't have time to do it. I'm too tired. I don't have enough resources to do this. Instead of this, think of those challenges. Remember the challenges that we talked about in the visualization exercise at the beginning of the presentation. Think about those challenges as a learning opportunity. I'm still learning. My proposal was rejected in one conference. No, I'm going to work more on improving it for another conference. And tack, it was accepted in a different conference. Always think of those failures, see them as a starting point to a new opportunity. And we're talking about mindset shift. Did you see the shift, all of you, on the computer? Press shift once you press shift, what does it happen? What happens usually when you press shift? 2 letters. Feel free, please, to type or to unmute yourself if you want to. So if you press shift, to a lowercase letter, it becomes an uppercase letter. Same for the mindset. So shift from, that closed mindset towards a much more, prolific one. How? In what sense? How do you think this can be done? So, for example, can you see the photo on the screen, please, everybody? So, what do you notice on this photo? If we can label this as maybe closed mindset or fixed mindset, where do you think it fits into? Fixed or closed? Or maybe both, depending on the person. So as you can see, it's Michael Phelps who's swimming. And if we compare, let's say, Michael Phelps to the other swimmer, who do you think is keeping a growth mindset from a closed mindset? Focus on the goal. Very good. So do you think the person, the other swimmer, the competitor with Michael Phelps, is he going to achieve his goal if he's focusing on comparing himself to the other swimmer? Whereas Phelps is just focusing on his target, swimming, getting right to the point, and that's it. So same for everybody, we forget sometimes that it's our journey. Just like in the exam, there is something I always tell my students, just please have a look at your paper, because it's your paper, it's your exam. It's your exam paper. If you just, instead of focusing on the exam paper, you just have a look at your friend's exam paper, you're going to be distracted. Waste of time, waste of energy. Focus on yourself. That's life in general, if we can take this metaphor to another level. Just focus on your target. You will achieve it in the least time possible. And be happy for other people's achievements. And if someone is happy, just celebrate with that person, and your turn will come next after. Maybe at the same time, you never know. Just the right mindset. for CPD is just supporting ourselves, supporting others. And that's how we grow. So I started by talking about CPD, which is student-oriented, and CPD, which is teacher-oriented. Most of the time, in all the conferences that we attend, so most of all, I'm not generalizing, so the focus is how to deliver the best lesson, how to give the best experience to our students, whereas little did we found conferences talking about teacher well-being from A to Z. There are conferences that are being organized, but not so many. So, but these are the 6 principles for the teaching standards, and it focuses on the learner itself. And my technique, this is my own way of seeing things. I've tried to blend these principles, these 6 previous principles here. Sorry, I jumped into the next one. I'm blending the previous one with the ICF core competencies for coaching. There are 8, as you can see, and they're applicable to any type of coaching, be it self-coaching, peer coaching, group coaching. So first, if you coach yourself, let's take yourself in the journey of self-coaching. The first core and elemental competency that should be there is ethics, the ethical principle. It's like we should operate according to those ethics. The second one is to have the right mindset. And I've labeled them into fixed and closed and growth mindset. But there are many, but it's up to you to decide what right mindset for CPD. Maintaining agreements, consistency. As a professional, if you set a target, if you give your promise to someone, be consistent. Whatever it takes, you just go with the deadline and submit the work, or whatever is it as an agreement. You just meet the deadline and maintain that agreement with the person. It sets, that kind of sustainable trust and a safe relationship with that person. Presence as well. Presence is not in the sense that I'm here and you're here and physically we're just meeting and talking and that's it. No, it's to practice active listening. Once you listen to the person, you just listen to understand, to practice what we call empathy, just not listen to just reply to the person and that's it. And of course, this establishes communication, which is really very important. And most of all, you are all through the process, you are aware of the process, aware of yourself, aware of the growth you're going through, and you facilitate growth for others as well. So as leaders, we're all leaders in this sense. So now I'm going to talk about Ikigai, and maybe a question you can ask yourself: what is really the relationship between what she was talking about and the word Ikigai? So the word Ikigai, according to Japanese, is part of the Japanese culture, as you can see it here. It's the passion that gives value and joy to life. I'm going to ask you a question, everybody, the audience, on Facebook, hello, and on Zoom here. Please type in the chat, what is the #1 passion that keeps you alive and something that you feel extremely happy while doing this? And some examples that you see here on the screen. For me, it's podcasting, needless to say, and Tai Chi and yoga. I forgot that. So what about you? What do you think is your Ikigai? Teaching language through the arts. TESOL for stuff. So think about this, keep this in mind. So, and it's not necessarily linked to age, because maybe you're seeing, a age group on the screen, but Ikigai is not really restricted to any age. It's the driving force, the burning desire that you have so that you fulfill your life with happiness and ease. So what is Ikigai? According to the definition that everybody uses, In the Japanese culture, the word Ikigai, that's how it's pronounced, means finding a purpose to one's life. And the realization of that, not just finding it and that's it. I'm really happy. I know how to draw and that's it. No, it's like I know how to draw. I paint on a daily basis and I share my painting and people get me recognized through what I do. That's the Ikigai. That's knowing what you're good at, knowing your talent and applying it really and share it with others. Maybe others can learn from you. And by the way, Ikigai is not as this Venn diagram has been always showing. Myself included, I was really confused at first. I thought that Ikigai can be framed into something, you know, that we can comprehend and understand. But how can we palpably understand, let's say, the human entity, which is something really something we can't count, we can't calculate, and frame it in something like this? So Ikigai has been westernized into this Venn diagram that everybody uses. If you just Google it, the first result they will get is this Venn diagram, or maybe this one, which is really very, very similar. It's like the intersection of what you love and what the world needs from you, what you can be paid for. You can find your reason for being. But honestly, if you ask yourself the questions that I've asked you at the beginning of the presentation, so do you think it fits into this diagram or surpasses that? So Ikigai, as I've perceived it myself through podcasting and through the guests that I have hosted in my podcast, it's beyond this. It's beyond this diagram. Another concept I'm choosing to talk about is Kaizen. And as you can see, it's also a Japanese term, which means positive change. Just like Zen in yoga, the Zen attitude. The positive change through Kaizen, and who doesn't want to improve and, you know, fulfill a life which is really successful, and especially teachers. So we spend most of our time, you know, delivering lessons and making sure that our students get the best out of that. And we're happy if they achieve something and they'll get back to us and telling us, Miss, I've achieved this. And I'm really happy and I share it with you. That's Kaizen, and I'm using the word to Kaizen as a verb in itself. So the word initiated in Japan as well, and it was linked to a factory and a business in the first place, to Toyota. And then it has been adopted afterwards to other businesses. And I had a chance to interview Blue Ocean CEO, Mr. Safwan. I'm going to talk about this with a Kaizen podcast, and to what extent Safwan is applying the Kaizen principle in Blue Ocean. So the Kaizen cycle, let's say, starts from getting the employees involved. It's not about owning, let's say, a company and just giving orders to people. No, employees are partners in the business. Without their participation, the business won't be the same. So in meetings, they sit together and talk about their problems, which is step 2. Let's say the encouragement aspect is there. They find solutions, you know, which are common and suitable to everybody. They test, they measure, they adapt, they review, and then they apply. It's like a cycle, never ending. And through this cycle, which was really applied in business, Kaizen, you know, and improvement has been noticed. I've borrowed this principle to TESOL professionals and to the profession itself through these 10 principles. As a TESOL profession, I never stop. You know, once I achieve a new target, I just ask myself, what's the next target? What's the next milestone? Now I should work on the next one. Eliminate all practices. Do you think with old habits, you can achieve new results? Sometimes if you try the same thing over and over and over again, you never get good results. What shall you do? Should you review the method, or should you keep on really doing the same thing and you say, no, I'm not successful, I'm not doing anything? So eliminate those old practices. If you can't wake up early in the morning, forget about now because we're in Ramadan, but in normal days, if you can't wake up early in the morning and you just go to practice on a daily basis, go to the gym after work, Will you have a body that is really fit? So those principles, they enable you to achieve, let's say, steps into the higher version of yourself, the better version of yourself. By being, instead of just being reactive, no, I'm not successful because, the word does not help me achieve my target. I'm not really successful because, I arrived late, I don't know, on the day of the exam. Be proactive instead of reactive. So take your life into your hands, take those decisions and be proactive. So I've talked about the new methods that work, but not necessarily the old ones. And of course, if something does not work right, you should really revise it and review it. The empowerment of employees. So I'm going to ask a question now really quick to Blue Ocean's teachers, if they're here, present here with us. Mr. Safwan, do you allow me to do this?
Sure, yeah.
So if we have in the team, and I'd like to ask you a question about the, let's say, the empowerment. How do you feel the empowerment in Blue Ocean with Mr. Safwan? In all the encouragement that you go through with Mr. Safwan, and all through your career path. So I've talked with the Kaizen podcast to some of your teachers, Mr. Safwan, and I've noticed that you have that special leadership aspect that enables everybody to speak up, and they feel that they're really in a safe environment. So let's see.
يا مساتوني بدأ بثمانية هم.
Someone who is not muting his microphone. Never mind. Okay. So all right. So empowering the employees is seeing the employee himself or herself as a partner, and the employee himself should see himself as such. It's like once you wake up in the morning and you go to work, you put all the effort so that everybody will be successful. And your success, part of it is like the success of the organization you work with. It's like putting everybody part of the work together so that they achieve the best results. So I'm just going to skip few points here because I don't want to be redundant, because I've talked about this. And if you watch the Kaizen podcast episode, which is on YouTube, you can scan this QR code. And I had Mr. Safwan and the whole team with Blue Ocean. And you'll be very glad to listen to his experience with the Kaizen improvements, and which is a lifetime journey. So part of the Kaizen for every teacher, and not necessarily, professionals, but today I'm going to focus on TESOL professionals, is setting what we call SMART goals. And for me, I prefer to call it not SMART goals in general, but one goal, which can be the smartest. So for those who attended the presentation from the beginning, do you have an idea about what is your utmost and smartest goal that I asked you at the beginning of the presentation? So I'm curious to know in the chat, please, if you can, if you want to share, of course, what is your utmost and smartest goal? Okay, yes, Mrs. Safwan, I'll wrap up. So, I'm sorry. Okay, almost finished. So talking about the smartest goals. So everybody has a different goal. And part of these goals, I had 2 podcasts myself. And I was really very honored to be hosting my colleagues in my podcast. As you can see, most of them, they are familiar faces. And you can watch all the episodes on my YouTube channel. And finally, how can all this be leveraged through AI? And this is the AI competency framework for the UNESCO. And it's related to AI for professional development. How AI can enable, now that is the question, how AI can enable you as teachers to go, let's say, the extra mile, So these are some strategies that I have tried myself and I'm sharing with you. So what we call personal branding with AI. So if you do not have until now your own website, feel free to check Gamma and create your own website through AI and using Gamma. Course creation and lesson planning. So course creation, there are websites that can enable you to create a course from A to Z, and even create quizzes, and you can even, review this and adapt it according to your students. This is very time saving for those who are really beginners and ask themselves questions from where to start. AI can be helpful in research as well. There is a website called Kinois, and it helps a lot of people go through research studies and do the literature review. So once you try it, please let me know how is it and how it goes with you. So Kinois is really helpful. Also, don't forget that your CV is your business card. A good CV can enable you to land a good job opportunity. And of course, you can review your CV with AI. So a lot of platforms, I've chosen only one for you today. Feel free to explore all these platforms and let me know what you think. So the takeaways. So I'm really very glad to hear from you if you have questions. And of course, I never, forget to mention sustainability in every presentation, because to sustain all this in time and space is really important. And these are my references. And of course, my email address if you want to reach out for any question, and my LinkedIn QR code if you want to reach out on LinkedIn. And thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Safwan.
Thank you very much, Yusra, for this very valuable presentation. We learned much and much out of you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you please have any questions that you want to ask Yusra, we still have some time. Please unmute yourself and go.
Well, dear Yusra and Miss Yusra and Mr. Safwan, that was just amazing. Your coaching and mentoring and all the information that you shared with us, Yusra. And I just, the slide that you showed recently, I couldn't help but take an image of that. I thought
Of
it was
course, I can send
so
it to you.
valuable. Your personal branding, AI powered personal branding, and course creation and lesson planning with quiz with
Yes,
ZZZ.
this quizzes, this
And
one. This one.
yeah, research studies, literature review, and reviewing
Yes,
and adapting your CV. That was such an amazing tip, that we all need to be aware of about what to do with our CVs, how to enhance them. And this is just such valuable information. I hope that everyone has a chance to receive your inspiration.
Thank you so much. And actually, these websites, they're really very helpful. And there are many, and I discover many of them. And what I do is I choose one of them and I record a tutorial, how to use the website, how to go through the activity from A to Z, and I share it on my social media. So I'll be glad to share more and more of this. So thank you so much, Miss Elson, and I will send you the slide if you want, or if you can screenshot if you want now, you can do it.
Yeah, just if you can go back a bit, Yusra, to the slide where you had the presenters.
Okay, yes, sure. Thank you so much. This one. Are you talking about this one, Safwan?
Yeah, no, the ones before where you had the professionals all together in one photo.
Oh yeah, just a second. There are two slides. This
Here
is
we
for
go.
Ikigai, and this is for the Kaizen one. And that's you. You were
Oh,
my
you're right.
guest for the Kaizen podcast.
Thank you. Yusra, there is a question that I received.
Sure, yes.
Great, and thank you very much for this presentation. Sorry if I ask you a personal question. Did your life change after these two programs? I think maybe they mean the Kaizen and the Ikigai.
the Ikigai is the question is like, did I like the journey along the way, before and after? Is that a
Right.
question?
Did your life personally change after knowing about the?
Of course, a lot. You know that that the experience, the human experience that I live with every guest that I host from A to Z, and you went through this yourself, Safwan, is like the procedure, preparing this and talking to the person, you know, it's really it has created, you know, a tremendous and outstanding you know, changes, let's say. Most of these people I've become friends with, or I'm already friends with before. So first they were supportive ever since I started the podcast. You know, some of them, they just reached out to me, Yusra, and I want to be your guest. Others, it's me that I'm reaching out. But I've learned a lot at the human experience from every person that I interviewed. So much. You're on mute, Safed.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question to Yusra, please feel free to ask.
Sure, this is my email address. Some of are asking about my email, so I'll drop it in the chat again. Okay. You are?
Good evening. Happy Teachers Day again. It's
Thank you, Adam.
not much of a question, but more as just kudos to you, Yusra. It's always amazing listening to you. It's
Thank you
always
so much.
informative.
Thank you.
I normally have tons of questions lined up, but honestly, you just overwhelmed me. And I was just too fixated on watching and listening, and I didn't write anything down. I was just enjoying myself way too much to care about questions.
I can share the presentation if you want. Yes.
I'm going back to it definitely on Facebook to rewatch this again. But I really just wanted to give you kudos and say you did an amazing job as always. I love listening to you.
Thank you so much.
The journey you took us from India to Japan to all over the world, you know, and how we traveled the world with you. But I really just wanted to thank you.
Yes, and if I can add something, Aram, I consider myself, Yusra, as a mosaic. You know, the mosaic that I talked about and the mosaic that is here today. Part of me is in the countries that I visited, in the people that I dealt with, in the languages that I learned. You know, it's me. It's what makes Yusra as a person. And thank you so much, Aram. Such a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Great. Yusra, here is another point, please.
Yes.
If you allow me, you talked about training and mentoring and coaching. And yes, maybe we've been through the 3 stages. And 2 points that I want to reflect upon and ask for your opinion, of course, in addition to the opinion of President Ellison as well. Now, my first question is, are these stages separated? Meaning like it's like when we go from novice to less experience to, for example, expert. And the second question is, I just 2 weeks ago, I attended a presentation by Rachel Mary Palin, I believe, who's very much into coaching. She's a certified coach as well. One of the things that she mentioned about coaching is with coaching, you never give advice. Right. And with you as a coach, I would really love to hear from you on this more.
So I'll start with or Miss Allison, would you like to start? So I'll start with the coaching part, and then I will let Miss Allison maybe elaborate on the next part. So I fully agree with you, and that's what I learned, especially with the ICF competencies, because coaching is different from one organization to the other. But a coach never, ever guides or never gives any piece of advice, never, but goes through questioning. Did you notice that all through my presentation, I've kept on asking questions from start to finish? Reflection questions, So it's all about creating like instilling the critical mindset into the person who is hearing me. So by asking the right questions maybe and elaborating on them, I let the person understand themselves. It's a journey of self-discovery. But to answer your question, never should a coach guide, because it's a responsibility that no one wants to take. And we're not responsible for people's lives. And we're experts in the field, but no one can be an expert in oneself more than the person himself or herself. It's like we kind of, just like the torch, and we lighten up things maybe you didn't see in yourself, and that's it. So, but the coach never ever guides. And the stages, the training, mentorship, and the coaching, they are, they're not related and related at the same time. I'll tell you how. So, in some cases, some training, they adapt some of the coaching techniques. For example, the CELTA training in itself, once I did the CELTA and once I did the ICF coaching, I noticed that the CELTA relies on the coaching techniques. So there are what we call blended coaching, which is you take two particular, for example, fields or subjects, let's say business coaching, and you blend them together. So, and the format will be training, but the technique is coaching. Mentoring, I did the client mentorship program with the CPD PLN with Dr. Liz England and Emira Salema, but I was mentored, it was mentee driven. I was the one who set the goals, the techniques used was for coaching, but let's say the format was that. But all of them, they're mixed up, let's say. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely.
I hope so. Thank you. Miss Allison, you want to add something? I think I've said a lot.
Well, just a tiny bit. I was wondering if your coaching services involves educators, and if you have any advice for educators.
I'm
If we could
considering
contact you if we have issues and we need coaching.
Sure. Along with my, because I'm a full-time teacher, but I'm considering blending this even with my job, my actual job, with the permission, of course, of my my employer. So, but guiding teachers and TESOL professionals is along the way. It's part of my CPD now for me and for them. And I welcome professionals who see themselves well at ease following the ideas that I have, and I'll be glad to share what I know, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yusra, you received another question
Yes, please.
via Instagram. So the person is saying, once again, thank you. Every year I put so many plans, but I don't achieve any of them, which makes me frustrated. I think she means frustrated. What should I do for this?
Could you please repeat the first point? There was a noise in the background.
Right. Every year I put many plans, but I don't achieve any of them, which makes me frustrated.
Okay.
And
So
then
first of all, don't blame yourself, because sometimes a person.
Saf, why you bald, bro?
There is someone called Johan Martinex. Please, could you please
No,
mute yourself?
no.
Mrs. Safwan, can you mute the person,
Yeah.
please?
No.
He just entered now.
Shut up, bro. You're not kicking me, bro. Shut up, bro.
Yeah, Yusra, we will do.
Shut up, bro. You bald as hell. You play that stuff.
The point is that never blame yourself. And that's, a load that you put it on yourself.
Who was that guy? If you don't mind me asking.
And
Aram, if you can get the person.
Oh my gosh, I'm about to come.
a mentor or a coach, she can consult. So the first thing is to seek help. because coaching can be sometimes the first step, but not necessarily the only one. So feeling frustrated, no, never. Sometimes if she goes through self-talk and overthinking, she can be overwhelmed. So seeking help is the first step. And putting her story in front of the right person is the next step. So talking about this to a person who can be of a good help to the person. And then if, let's say, the goal is professional, let her please seek professional help. For example, if it's something really related to goal achievement, so she can really, the quote that says, once the teacher is ready, once the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's the point. So now, since she has that awareness that she needs help, let her look for a mentor, someone maybe who can give guidance onto that. So, and I hope that I answered her question.
Thank you so much. Does anybody still have any question to Yusra?
I'm sorry, could I elaborate a little bit on the mentoring aspect?
Yes, please.
Yusra, I always receive this question myself, and I only have probably one source, but where's a reputable source that people can go in search of mentors?
So if it's related, for example, to our field, to TESOL, for example,
Yes.
The TESOL organization, the TESOL International, has plenty of resources that you can consult. And the communities of practice themselves, they are as think tanks for that, and there are even mentorship programs. So for example, if you see yourself, if you want to be mentored, or if you see yourself, you have a set of skills that you want to mentor others, the CPD PLN with Dr. Liz England has what we call the Climb Mentorship Program. And you can even mentor one person, or you get mentored if you want. So I was mentored myself, and my next step is to mentor someone maybe in the upcoming years. As for mentorship in general, there are plenty of resources, but let's say the most reliable ones should be related to, let's say, for example, if it's the Toastmasters, it can be related to that particular point. So it differs from one point to the other. But as further readings, Aram, I can send you, if you want, some reliable resources that you can consult yourself maybe in the future. So I'll be glad to send you by email if you want.
I would be grateful. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you so much.
Yusra, people got really inspired by the talk.
Thank you so
by
much.
you personally.
Thank you so much. And thanks for the opportunity, Safwan. And I wanted to share more than this, but I kept it really as practical as it should be, for the time span. And thank you so much for all my friends who are here, and for my new friends that are present today. And I'm sure that this is just the beginning. And I thank Blue Ocean as well. And I'm really so very proud to have known, all of you, the whole team, Mr. Safwan. And you're lucky to have great partners with you, because, a great team can be successful only with people, who see themselves really going on the same journey for the same purpose and having the same mindset.
Absolutely. And I would say also, great leaders might be great, or successful leaders might be successful because of team members. There isn't, it's all like, maybe they all complete one another.
Of course.
Great.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us tonight. That was really great by Yusra, with much of the ad that we got through President Allison as well, and the other participants. Thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow with another wonderful presentation. Do not miss it. You don't want to miss it with Hind tomorrow. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow. Have a good night, and happy Ramadan to all.
Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.